Hi, I'm Roberto Amoroso, a Ph.D. student at the AImagelab research group of the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia, in Italy. I'm delighted to present our work entitled Investigated Bidimensional Downsampling in Vision Transformer Models. Our goal is to investigate the application of a bidimensional max pooling operator to improve the efficiency of transformer-based architectures. Despite having been initially proposed for natural language processing, the transformer-based architecture have recently demonstrated their effectiveness also in many computer vision fields, reaching state-of-the-art results in several tasks, including image classification. The VUIT key features include infinite receptive field achieved through the computation of content-based pairwise similarities, ability to learn long-range dependencies, fewer sequential operations enabling network parallelization, scalable architecture, and better generalization thanks to the absence of inductive biases, such as locality. By analyzing the structure of the vision transformer in more detail, the main disadvantage of this architecture immediately emerge, namely the high computational cost. The patches extracted from the input image are projected through a linear layer, added with the positional encoding, and concatenated with an additional learnable classification token, used to predict the final output class. At this point, all the patches plus the classification token go through the transformer encoder. The transformer encoder consists of L identical layers, each being composed of a multi-layer perceptron, two normalization layers, and a multi-head self-attention layer. The multi-head self-attention layer, in turn, performs the scale-dot-product attention function over h different sets of keys, values, and queries. The results are then concatenated and projected through another linear layer. Keys, values, and queries are obtained from separate and learned linear projection of the input sequence. As transformers maintain a full-length sequence across all layers, the overall architecture of the VUIT features a computational cost that increases with the length of the sequence of embedded patches. While this appears to be an issue from a computational point of view, it also hinders the fact that transformers lack a hierarchical structure that is specifically designed for images. To solve these problems, we propose VT2D, a hierarchical VUIT with bidimensional max pooling, that offers a significant reduction of the visual token sequence length, and therefore a reduction of the computational costs, and better localization of features compared to one-dimensional pooling. Let's take a closer look at the proposed architecture. As in the original approach, the input image is divided into square patches. These are linearly projected to the dimensionality of the model, but unlike the traditional VUIT, we do not add the classification token. Positional embeddings are then added to the patch embeddings, and the result is fed in input to a transformer layer. So far, the output sequence of visual tokens has the same length as the input. We now execute the 2D max pooling. First, we rearrange the sequence of tokens into its original spatial configuration. Bidimensional pooling is then applied to connect different patches and downsample the sequence length. The downsampled visual tokens are added with a set of new learnable positional embeddings. The results goes through two additional transformer layers, and these steps are repeated m times. An average pooling is applied after the last layer of the last stage, reducing the length of the sequence to a single token. And finally, a fully connected layer is used to make the final predictions. With our proposal, we both decrease the computational requirements of a transformer-based architecture and create a hierarchy in the feature extraction process which resembles the one of a convolutional neural network. We also investigate the impact of applying 2D max pooling at different stages of the VUIT architecture. In particular, we propose VT2D1, which is equipped with only one 2D pooling layer. We studied the effects of applying the pooling layer in the first stage, in the second, in the third, and in the fourth and last stage of our proposed architecture. We will see how the stage of application of the pooling layer affects the model performance, both in terms of accuracy and computational costs. We also propose VT2D2, which implements two pooling layers in the first and third stage of the architecture. And finally, we propose VT2D4, which executes the pooling operation in each of the 4 stages of the architecture. In our experiments, we followed the recent literature on VUIT-based models and devised 2 model configurations varying the model dimensionality and the number of attention heads, called tiny and small. In the table, we consider results of the small variant of our model over the C400 dataset when employing one pooling layer at different stages of the architecture. As can be seen, pooling low-level features in the first layer of the model brings a large reduction in flops and memory footprint, while, on the other hand, pooling high-level features in the last layer of the model brings a limited reduction of memory and computational costs and achieves lower accuracy performance. Also in the table, it is possible to observe how the proposed VT2D model with 2 pooling layers allows obtaining a reduction of more than 81% of flops compared to the baseline model without pooling, against a slight reduction in accuracy of about 1%. In addition, we investigated how the variation of the pooling kernel size impacts performance, deriving that pooling with the small kernel size achieves higher accuracy and computational costs than pooling layers with a large kernel size. Finally, our proposed variants employing the 2D pooling at each of the 4 stages of the architecture achieve about a 30% reduction of flops and a 2% increase in accuracy when compared to the baseline. Furthermore, we compare the accuracy performance against the computational cost, measured in flops, of our baseline without pooling, of VT1D, which is the variant of our model that executes one-dimensional pooling, and of VT2D with 1, 2, and 4 pooling layers. We can notice that the small variant of our VT2D4 achieves the best trade-off between accuracy gain and flops reduction, while the tiny configuration of our VT2D4 with only 5.6 million of parameters achieves performance in terms of accuracy that is comparable to the one of the baseline without pooling in its small configuration, having 21.7 million of parameters, but with a significant reduction in computational load in terms of flops. Our results are also confirmed on ImageNet, a bigger and more complex dataset than C400. In particular, pooling in early stages improves accuracy and significantly reduces flops, while pooling with a small kernel size improves accuracy at the price of a higher memory and computational costs. As a final analysis, we report the comparison of our best variants and other state-of-the-art models, based on the Vision Transformer architecture that apply different strategies to achieve efficiency. In particular, we consider the knowledge distillation approach proposed in DEIT, 2 variants of DEIT that additionally performs pruning, SCOP and power, and the one-dimensional pooling approach proposed in HVT model. From the table, it can be observed that our proposed bidimensional pooling is comparable to the considered state-of-the-art approaches, both in terms of flop saving and accuracy. In conclusion, we proposed a bidimensional max pooling operator to reduce the length of the patch sequence processed in the Vision Transformer for the classification task. We enforced a multi-level hierarchical representation of the input. We investigated the effects of applying the 2D max pooling at different stages of the architecture in both the tiny and small model configurations. We evaluated and demonstrated the effectiveness of our proposal on the C400 and ImageNet datasets. We reduced the computational costs up to 81% flops reduction, and we increased the classification accuracy up to 2 percentage points. And with these results and observations, I end my presentation by thanking you very much for your attention.